All right. The midweek howl is up and recording. So here we are.
Here we are. I'm ready for it.
Ready?
Yep.
Right. Um. So I'm still. We just put up our Patreon midweek howl for September for all of our real, diehard listeners.
Yep.
So anybody that's listening to this on the regular time, during the week, if you don't know, we do have a Patreon channel that you can go and you can get an extra it's kind of a dicey, like it's just like no holds barred, right?
I don't know about that. I still kind of hold back a little bit because I don't want to nuke what few fans we have because
I think the one we did for September, I think it was pretty good. I gotta say, you kind of and if you don't listen to our Patreon, you're not gonna know what was the guy that was kind of ripping on us, Lance. We kind of gave Lance his, we kind of responded to some criticism Lance gave us on social media. So that was kind of fun. So I guess if you want to hear that and some other stuff that, go check us out on our Patreon page, just go. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff on there. You can go become a member for 1 month, listen to it all, stop paying for the, after that 1 month and then wait another 3 or 4 months and pay, whatever. But there's a lot of good stuff on there. A lot of good stuff. But I got a couple things. Do we want to talk about my speeding ticket or not?
Yeah, I think we should because you never even told me the story. You want to talk about it on this.
Well,
first of all, what state were you in?
I was in Utah.
There is absolutely no reason to get a speeding ticket west of Iowa.
Well, that's what I thought. And so before we get into the speeding ticket, I know the last time we kind of talked about we did the old UTV over the rocks and stuff out there, and kind of to a place where we could look over to the Colorado River. Well, I want all of our listeners, do yourself a favor, because when we came back, we stopped at this place where we could watch the sunset. Go to YouTube, look up a thing called the lionsback. Because we stood there on this cliff, I don't want to say cliff, but on the side of this rock. The guide starts telling, there's this big sloping rock, hill, whatever. And she goes, that's called the lionsback. And she starts telling us about people that have driven up it. Now, look, I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, are you
up it, not over or off it, or it's up?
It's a narrow rock, and I don't even know how high it goes, but it's unbelievable standing there. You have to drive up it, do a 180-degree turn on yourself to be able to turn around and come back down. Like, you can't swing out wide. You know what I'm saying? You got to turn almost in a circle to come back down. And I don't even know, I do not have enough guts to even think about it. And so she pulled up a video of this lady. I think it was a lady that drove up it, and this had to be, she said it's been closed for 15 years. You can't do it anymore because so many people lost control coming down and just wiped out. But they did let Jeep in 2016 or 17 or something film a commercial where they drove Jeeps up there in honor of, whatever anniversary it was of Jeep. So all the listeners, go look up the lionsback in Moab and check that out. I mean, if you're into an adventure and four-wheeling and stuff, it'll be fun just to watch it. But I mean, it is unbelievable. Like how steep, how high, and then how narrow it is. I mean, it's just crazy stuff that I'm not prepared. I'm not equipped to really do on a regular basis. I can say that much. So there you go.
Get to the speeding ticket, man. That's what we're wanting. Teased it long enough. Get to the speeding ticket.
Okay, so anybody that's been in, you've been out west, so going through Utah, that stretch, I it's like 80
You're
miles
on
an hour.
I-70 or I-80. Where you at?
We were on neither. We got off I-70 and we were going up.
Okay, so you're on 70. That's it. Yeah.
Well, we were on 70, but we got off on like 191 or something. I don't know. I was going from I-70 to Price, and then from Price to Salt Lake City. And so the stretch there between I-70 and Price, it's basically a 2-lane road, except when you're going uphill, and then they throw another lane in there so trucks can get over. And it's 80 miles an hour. That's the speed limit, 80 miles an hour. And so it's just hammer down, whatever. And so we were a little reluctant to go back the same way that we came, because there was a stretch between Price and Salt Lake City. There was construction. And on that Thursday, they were basically taking one lane all the way down to the bottom,
Right.
And so on that Thursday, they had stopped the one lane of traffic, and they were letting like 75, 80 cars go through at a time. So we're like, oh my God, if we get caught in that going back to the airport, we're screwed. We might be late for our flight. And so we took off extra early. We get to Price. I even pulled off in Price because I had to get a coffee. There's no coffee between Moab and Price. So I'm getting back onto the highway, and we're basically getting into this construction zone, but they're not doing any construction, but I am in the lane that's all the way down to the bare minimum. Okay. So you can't really drive too fast, or, cause it's, bumpy or whatever. And there's a truck in front of me, and this truck just takes off like a bat out of Hades. Okay. And I'm just driving 60, 65, whatever. And I don't even, we get up to where we think we might get stopped. There's nothing there. And we get on back onto the main road. So I start going a little bit faster. All of a sudden.
What's the speed limit on this? A little bit faster.
There's no sign.
Okay.
I got no sign. So I got to assume it's at least 65, 70. Okay.
I don't know.
Whereas before I'm driving 80,
Okay.
on road that's not as good as this. And so I start coming up on traffic, and all of a sudden this car way out in front of me flips its lights on. Now it's in front of me. And this
So
is
it's
the first
coming
time.
head to head.
No, I'm coming
It's
up.
parked sitting there.
No, it's driving in front of me, and I'm coming up to it. It slowed down, turned on its lights, pulled over into the berm and let me pass, then got in behind me and pulled me over.
Right. Okay.
So the guy I'm like, what the heck, Christy's got her phone there with the GPS, and internet's not very good, so it's in and out or whatever. So the guy walks up, seemingly a nice guy, and he goes, is your phone not telling you how fast you're supposed to be going? I'm like, what do you mean, my phone? And he looks down, he sees Christy's phone. And he looks at and he goes, oh, it's not telling you. And we're like, what are you talking about? And he goes, up here, your phone on your GPS will tell you how fast the speed limit is, which is news to me. And I'm thinking,
did you say you didn't have signs or what?
We just are dumbfounded.
You're not supposed to be on your goddamn phone, trooper. That's what you should have said.
No, I'm dumbfounded. Like, okay. And he goes, well, you really got my attention when you were going 76 and a 60 back there through the construction. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And he goes, I got you going. Now, mind you, I never saw this guy, period. No one ever went past me.
You just told me a big truck was going past you a while ago.
I'm saying I never, nobody drove past me the other way. Like, the only traffic I had seen was a pickup truck that was in front of me and pulled away from me.
Right.
Okay.
Did you think the big truck went by him or not?
Oh, I think that's who he clocked.
Did you tell him that?
No, because I'm like, well, he had to have been telling the truth, right? Like,
I don't know. I mean, beats me. Ask George Floyd.
Yeah, there you go. So he.
What were you driving? What's the rental car?
It was a Ford Escape.
Oh my God, 77, and that thing probably felt like a rocket, didn't it? Them junkers are about to come apart when they're parked.
Well, I can tell you this, there's no way I was driving 76 on that road that was all the way down to whatever you call it, the bottom layer.
Right.
It had jarred every loose part on that car off. And so he comes back up, he's got, the rental ticket and stuff, and tries to make a joke about, is this all this rental car cost? And I'm like, no, that's what I had left on it. He goes, oh, he's just trying to be nice. He goes, I had you going 20 over, but I'm only going to write you a ticket for going 5 over. And I'm thinking, why? Why would, if you had me for going 20 over, why would you only write me a ticket for going 5? And he goes, well, because I don't want to ruin your vacation. And I'm thinking,
then don't write it at all. Right?
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, like don't write it all. And then he adds, if you'd have been going 25 over, you'd have had to fly back out here to go to court. And I'm just like, okay, like, do you really think I'm flying back? I didn't want to get lippy with him because I just was like,
nowadays they'll drag you out and shoot you. I mean, hell, who knows what kind of bad stuff he's got? It was even a real cop.
I don't know. That's the other thing. I have no idea. They took my money when I called then on one Thursday and paid the ticket. They took my money. So they did do that. So whether or not I really was speeding and it was some elaborate scam, somebody in Utah has got $130 for a speeding ticket. There you go. And I still think he clocked the truck and then thought it was me. And thought it was me. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
I asked him. You said, "What about the truck that just passed me?"
Well, he was never behind me. This cop.
You mean why would he need to be behind you?
But I'm saying, like, it wasn't like he came up on me and he saw he was like, so maybe I'm ignorant to this. Can he be in front of me? And
yes, it's called same direction, dude. You don't even want to go. I mean, my stuff was 25 years ago, and we had called same direction. But what he's got to do is he's got to have it set right. There's a faster and slower, at least the ones we had back then, right?
Yeah.
And the faster and slower was for your car, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, am I going faster than you and slower than you? Otherwise, sometimes it can batch your speed, the difference between your speed and his speed, and add it to yours. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's not without fault. So same direction. You really got to have your stuff together, and I'm not saying he didn't. I didn't like writing them. I don't think I ever wrote anybody same direction because it's tricky because there's just a whole lot of ways you could mess it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because your radar, you're not supposed to rely on your radar. The only thing your radar is supposed to do is be checking your, I don't want to say opinion, but your opinion. He is supposed to visually look and go, this guy is speeding. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it on, and internally he's supposed to be trying to guess. So when you're on FTO, you're driving around and you're guessing car's speed. Okay, you're guessing car's speed, and that's so you can't really, your radar is just to confirm your suspicion. Now I know guys that just drove around with your freaking radar on, and whenever it beeped, that's what it said or whatever. And God bless them. But that's not the way it's supposed to work. That's why I couldn't make it as a cop. I told the gentleman the other day that was talking to me about going to work for him, and I told him my story. I said my last year on the road, I give 1,800 warnings and 400 tickets, and my sergeant said maybe you ought to find a different line of work if you don't like writing tickets. And now I'm on this podcast. I'm just too liberal to be a good cop because it's one thing you fulfilled, and this was not to go on a tangent here, but as I told this gentleman. Because he said, well, I always heard there wasn't a quota. And I said, well, they don't tell you got to, but they damn sure don't promote you. They treat you like shit if you're not writing tickets, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't give you a toaster if you get 150 in a month, but if you don't write X amount, So, but my point was statutorily, we're just there to promote traffic safety, and stopping you is stopping you, correct? So,
yeah.
7/8 of everything from a traffic stop is done with or without the ticket. Everybody driving by sees the car. Everybody sees you getting pulled over. Everybody, does that make sense? You project
The
that
act of being there is
action. Absolutely.
Yeah, the act of being there is
Is 8, 10,
doing
9
the job.
tenths of. Yes. So it doesn't matter if I write you a ticket or not, because I have already stopped you from whatever activity you're doing. You know, and there you have it. You know what I mean? Obviously, he doesn't feel the same way I do.
I no, and in retrospect, I'm kind of disappointed. I really wanted to ask him if, as a highway patrol, he'd seen anything spooky out there in the desert patrol.
You should have. You should have said, "Hey, now that you wrote me the ticket, explain to me we're going to come out here, and
if you've seen any UFOs, if you've seen anything crazy, you know, that's what I wanted to ask him. That's what I wanted to ask him if he had anything crazy happen." And Christy, and I said that after we pulled away, and Christy goes, "If you just asked that," she goes, "I might have smacked you upside the head." I said, "That's a good thing I didn't then." Because he might have got mad and she'd have been mad. So there you go.
I don't even know anymore. There's so much I don't know. The older I get, the less I know. When I was 18, I knew everything, and now that I'm 50, I don't know anything. That's another T-shirt, right?
I'm running out of room to write on the T-shirts here.
You don't put it all in one T-shirt. You sell different T-shirts.
Well, I know, but I'm running out of room on my notepad for your good ideas for T-shirts, which is another thing people missed out on by not listening to the Patreon. We had a couple good T-shirt ideas, but I do now. You're gonna like this one. Before we got on the Patreon episode the other day, one of my coworkers at the post office called me. He was driving somewhere, and he thought he was following me wherever he was driving, because he was behind a Suburban like mine, and he goes, "Hey, well, what are you doing anyway?" And I told him you and I are getting ready to do the podcast, and he goes, "Man, maybe I should come on there with you one time." Now, this gentleman, he's the oldest guy in the post office as far as seniority in our office. He's only a couple years older than me, but he started like 19, 20 years old. And for everybody listening, what I'm about to say, to everybody listening who is from our area, they'll know immediately who I'm talking about, because he's infamous for one thing that may or may not have happened during his postal career. But and I'm not going to say his name, but he is affectionately known as the Panty Bandit. And there's a story behind that I told him if he'd like to come on after all these years
and tell his side of the story.
Which involved law enforcement and postal inspectors over the supposed theft of women's undergarments. I've extended the offer, and he's strongly considering it. So we may get a final.
I'm telling you, that might be worth talking, because I've got 3 or 4 questions already, and
listen. It is one of those things invariably that in this area people have heard.
You mean because they got their panties stolen, or because
no, they just have heard.
How would they know?
They've heard the story. I mean, this happened literally 30 years ago, and to this day, as recently as last week, somebody mentioned something about, hey, the Panty Bandit.
I don't know, because I'll be honest with you. What happens if he has a triggering event and goes postal on you guys out there?
He won't, because he has put up with a.
You don't know what the straw that breaks the camel's back, or the postman's back. You don't know what that is. It's going to be.
I don't think so, but I told him that you would enjoy the conversation, because I knew you'd have some questions, and I mean, they really put him through the ringer trying to prove or disprove that he was the one.
It's not up to him. I was going to say they need to prove he's innocent until proven guilty. All the listeners need to realize that you are innocent until proven guilty. I talked to a gentleman the other day. I don't want to talk about January 6th, but I'm going to briefly, I'm not going to touch on it, but I'm going to go by it.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a guy, his son plays baseball with my son. They moved down here from out of state. Okay. About a year and a half ago or whatever. And I get to talk to him, and he's okay. You know, he's got a typical Marine. He's got a big old Marine tattoo, short guy in great shape with a big Marine tattoo on his forearm. And I said something, I don't remember. You know, we got to talking about something, and I said something. Well, I had been on the JTTF at one time. He goes, "Oh my God, the JTTF! They came and got me after January 6th." And I said, "Huh?" And he said they come to my work. I was working for the city where he was from, and he said he was like the what do they call the manager of the city?
City manager.
Yeah, but but you know.
Oh, the oh gosh.
He was like the number 2 guy in this town.
Dagummit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I can't.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's just say he was. But anyway, he was at the city maintenance building. He said actually, the city had bought a bunch of new lawnmowers or whatever, and he was there to sign for them, whatever. And he said these 2 FBI guys rolled in there and basically started accusing him of being at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. And he said, "Dude, I was at work. I was here." And they said, "Well, can you prove it?" And he said, "It's not up to me to prove it. You know what I mean? It's up to you to prove I was there, dude. It's not up to me to prove I was at work." And he said they pulled out some photos, in Google face recognition or whatever. Told, for some reason, you see, Google started puking all this information to the FBI the day after January 6th. So if you were there, Google was telling your location to the man, all your facial recognition, all this stuff. So the software said, this was probably him. And to make a long story short, he told them to pound sand, but then they went to his boss, the city, the mayor, and all these people and said, "Hey, your guy was here on January 6th. And of course, them guys, they don't want nothing to do with it because they're chicken shits. They don't want the man after them. And they tell him, "Hey, you got to cooperate with these guys." And he's like, "Cooperate? Hell, you guys see me here." "Well, we can't get involved." He said, "Well, you didn't get involved. You fucking told him that you're telling me." So basically he had to, pull his time cards, and he showed him some surveillance at City Hall on January 6th and said, "See, I'm here." And they were like, "Okay." And I guess that took a week or two before, all the powers that be forced him to cooperate with them. But I'm like, and what kind of, that's where America's at now. You're guilty until proven innocent. Now, what's that all about?
I don't know. That is seemingly the way it is.
All because of Google says you were there.
Google says,
That's why I don't have any Google apps on my phone, because my buddy was telling me all about this. He said they were getting overwhelmed by the tens of thousands of leads they were getting from Google, sending all this stuff to, normally what happens is you think that Shane did something in Bucyrus and you reach out to Google with a national security letter or subpoena and say, "I need his phone records." It was the opposite. They were sending all this stuff volunteering. "Well, hey, all these guys' phone says they were at the Capitol complex. All these guys is,
Really?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Well, listen, I know how bad the post office's tracking systems work. I can only imagine how bad Google's and stuff is.
That's exactly right. You know what I mean?
When my scanner in my hand that I'm scanning a box tells me that I'm 350 feet away from the house and I'm on the front porch, something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? And they use that information to kind of question, like, "Well, where were you when you scanned the box?" That's why I think it's Amazon, and they take a picture of the box sitting on the porch. Everything they deliver. It's either FedEx or Amazon. Take pictures of the box. I see them out there on my mail route doing it.
I don't know.
And that's what they're going to start.
Having you guys do?
I don't know, dude. They've got this thing. They got this brand new idea. I mean, this
brand new idea. The way you said that, brand new idea.
They got this brand new idea. So here's what they're going to start rolling out. So especially in big towns like, say, Columbus, or here, Mansfield's the one area. So what they're going to do is, in each one of these big towns, they usually have a distribution center where all the mail goes. It gets sorted out to all the little suburbs and outlying post offices around these big cities. Okay. So in Columbus, okay, there's a big distribution center, and then you have like Worthington, Dublin, those kinds of places, New Albany, all those places. They get their mail from that distribution center. So it has to get on a truck and then be driven to each one of those places. So this guy's big idea is he is going to take all the carriers from Worthington, Dublin, and New Albany, put them in that distribution center, therefore eliminating the need to take the mail to those little offices for the mailman. Okay. But now the limit is 30 minutes. They said, as long as you're not 30 minutes, your route doesn't start 30 minutes away from that distribution center, that's their cutoff. So they're going to take, they already got us down to where you're an 8-hour route. Well, now they're going to have to take an hour off of, I don't know how many routes across the country, because they're going to force these carriers then to drive a half hour to the beginning of the route, which will then probably be another half hour back at the end of the route. So because they want to eliminate jobs, but they're going to create more carrier jobs, because for every 6 routes you do that to, it's another route with street time, office time, and lunch and breaks. So they're going to so what they're going to do is, all these small towns and suburbs, they're going to take all the carriers out of their offices. The post office there will still be open. There'll still be a supervisor or postmaster. There'll be a couple clerks, so they can sell you postage and put up the post office box, but there will not be any carriers in those offices. They'll be all in one big distribution center. So they're going to do that all over the country. They started to do a time study on it, and I forget how long these time studies are supposed to be. After like 3 weeks, the Postmaster General said, I don't care what the time study says, we're doing it regardless, so quit the time study. So there you go. That's what we're faced with. Meanwhile, I'm driving a 1991 mail vehicle that the left turn signal doesn't work. And the last one I had, before they brought this one back, had a fan that I had to duct tape to the windshield to keep upright, and my handle for my window kept falling off every time I turned the corner.
Well, I see that as, I understand where the postmaster's coming from. First of all, it doesn't matter about your signals. You should always be on the right-hand side of the road with your flashers on. And who cares about your window handle, because your window ought to be open. Putting that mail in the box, boy. Come on. You got to start thinking like management.
We just laugh because, it's just going to kill the service for people. I mean, and that's just, it's a shame. It really is, because they don't think about any of this stuff in a realistic way. Now, yes, there's some small post offices in small towns that really don't need to be open. Okay, they just don't. There's nobody that visits them enough to justify keeping the lights on. But to make offices in towns the size that are 10, 12, 15,000 people, make those carriers go drive, what if you're driving a half hour to work as it is from the other direction, and now you got to drive past it. So now you're driving an hour to work, then you're going to drive a half hour back to start your route, I mean, it's just there's no sense to it. But you've worked for the government. I've worked for the government. Many people that listen to us work for the
No,
government.
I was employed by the government. I never really worked.
Okay,
That's why
there
I'm
you
here,
there you go.
unemployed at a young age, displaced on this podcast.
Well, my countdown to retirement from this job has started. I'm under 5 years, but if I can, if we had a few more Patreons, maybe I could retire early. Did I tell you what our good buddy Chris Hahn did that? Maybe I can even retire even earlier. Our buddy Chris Hahn, who some people know is a
right stuntman and actor.
Stuntman actor. He got me in touch with his agent in New Mexico, and they had me do like a little 30-second voice thing. He might be able to get me some voice over work. How about that? Like I might be able.
I think you have a great voice. I don't have a voice for voiceover, but you do.
I think your voice is just fine. What are you talking about? It's nice and velvety, soft. It makes me feel warm.
You don't know any better. If you're down in the trailer park in the Ozarks with a layer of dust on your eardrums, maybe.
Tonight here, old Izzy's off for homecoming. When do you got homecoming there?
Last week.
So that's right. You did say you had those kids at the house imparting some wisdom to them. So yeah, I did not get to see her off. I was still working, but I came home, and her dad had come down to help, take pictures with her grandma. And he mentioned that he told her curfew was 9:30. I said, "Wow, okay." I said, "I don't think she's gonna be home at 9:30."
You gonna let them stay out that late, huh?
Well, that's what happens. It falls on me because I stay up late. Christy's in early. She goes to bed early, so it falls on me to stay up. And and I don't like the kids out that late. I never liked any of my other kids out that late. They always wanted to stay out till midnight, and it's like, okay, I'll be waiting up on you.
Nothing good happens after midnight, right?
God, our basketball coach used to say that, and be home before midnight because nothing good happens after midnight. And he's kind of right. Nothing really good happens after midnight. At least not anymore.
Right.
So there you go.
There you go.
I got a long night. Hopefully the Buckeyes go long tonight.
Well, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're gonna put it to bed early. I think they're gonna win right out of the gate.
Really?
I
like they're playing Wisconsin. I like your confidence, but I'm not sure.
I don't. Badgers. Aren't they the Badgers?
The Badgers. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be fine. So
you think I should have fought that speeding ticket, huh?
I didn't say you should fought it. I just said that, there's a lot of things that go on. It's just not as cut and dry as they let it on to be,
I know. Now I'm worried that I'm going to worry every time we do an episode if Lance is going to be happy if we talked enough about your law enforcement career. I mean, you got into it a little bit, so maybe Lance will be happy.
Maybe. Who knows? You can't please everybody all the time. Tell him to keep listening. We'll say something better next time.
Something better next time. All right, Lance. Here's your warning. Just keep listening, and maybe next week we'll.
We're like fine wine. We're going to get better with age.
We're just like spoiled milk. It's about time to throw us out.
That's right.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.
Girl,